This is CBC Vancouver News.
We have these absentee ballots that are not going to be counted until Monday, but they're going to be a very different mix of absentee ballots than we usually had. So I don't know what to predict.
As the final votes are tallied, the BC NDP and Conservatives remain in a deadlock. But new numbers show the NDP is gaining some ground. Plus,
well, really frustrated and upset.
Why residents of Harrison Hot Springs are outraged a popular natural hot spring has been destroyed, likely at the hands of a luxury resort. Also,
so we know French, which is like, the second language of Canada, but we don't know our own family's language.
A historic Cantonese language school in Chinatown is seeing increased interest after more than a decade of low enrollment. What it means for the preservation of heritage in Vancouver. Hello, thanks for joining us. I'm Janella Hamilton. A week later, and there is still no clear winner in the provincial election. Elections BC is in the final vote count process, with the NDP still in the lead. The party is just shy of one seat for the majority and is leading in two of the closest ridings. So far, the new numbers from the mail-in ballots don't change that. But as Mira Baines reports, the NDP have gained a significant number of votes in another riding that could flip in their favor.
Elections BC has been counting the number of mail-in ballots in the tightest ridings first, with more numbers expected to be released Sunday and Monday. The NDP is widening its lead. A new riding has emerged as one to watch. So far, the seat count remains the same. 46 seats for BC NDP, 45 seats for the BC Conservatives, and 2 for the BC Greens. A party needs 47 to form a majority government. After the Saturday results, the riding of Surrey-Guildford, which the BC Conservatives is holding, has the potential to flip. The NDP is just now 12 votes behind the Tories, which was leading by 103 votes there before Saturday. The BC NDP has also opened up a wider lead in two ridings destined for recounts on Sunday and Monday. There's also a partial recount for Kelowna Centre. The NDP's lead over the BC Conservatives in the riding of Wanda Fuqua-Malahat has grown to 106 votes from the previous 20 votes. The NDP's lead in Surrey City Centre riding has grown to 178 votes from the previous 93. This data expert weighs in on why, even now, results are coming in and difficult to predict.
And we have these absentee ballots that are not going to be counted until Monday, but they're going to be a very different mix of absentee ballots than we usually had. There's a lot less of them. And weirdly, they're going to be more from places that were remote, that weren't able to get online on election night. So I don't know what to predict.
Still, during this campaign, the BC Conservatives focused heavily on social and digital media, with the BC NDP having the advantage of established campaign infrastructure.
This is something that the NDP has a machine prepared to do, and they have that experience in 2020. And we know that the Conservatives, they were able to mobilize voters in a variety of ways, but that was often through the frustrations voters were feeling themselves.
But going forward, there is chatter on social media about the vote count itself and people questioning the process.
This is something new for BC, and it is also influenced by discourse around elections around the world, in particular in the United States. That declining trust in institutions is something we have seen for a number of years now.
So far, this election is still too close to call. Mira Baines, CBC News, Vancouver.
While no ridings were flipped today with the updated results, the CBC News Decision Desk projects NDP candidate Harwinder Sandhu will be elected in the riding of Vernon-Lumby. NDP candidate Kelly Green will be elected in the riding of Richmond-Steveston. NDP candidate Sunita Deer will be elected in the riding of Vancouver-Langara. NDP candidate Jody Wickens will be elected in the riding of Coquitlam-Burke Mountain, while Conservative candidate Brian Tepper will be elected in the riding of Surrey Panorama. BC Conservative candidate Marina Saposnikov is facing heavy criticism over derogatory comments she made about Indigenous people. It happened during an election night interview with a Vancouver Island University journalism student who has shared the recording with CBC News. Here is part of the interview and a warning: the following content may be disturbing for some viewers.
They didn't have any sophisticated laws. They were savages. They fought each other all the time.
In the recording, the Wandafuka Malahat candidate went on to denounce the NDP government's adoption of the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples Act, claiming it has turned non-Indigenous British Columbians into second-rate citizens. The candidate's remarks have sparked outrage from the Union of British Columbia Indian Chiefs.
You know, it's absolutely disgusting. It's sickening that we have people that are aspiring for public office that harbor such racist, offensive, and extremist views.
Saposnikov, who fell behind her NDP opponent in the Wandafuka Malahat riding by 106 votes following today's recount, has not responded to requests for comment. BC Conservative leader John Rustad is condemning her remarks, calling them profoundly harmful and inconsistent with the party's values. The union is calling for her removal from the party. After weeks of job action, Waterbridge Ferries has reached a tentative deal with inland ferry workers in the Kootenay region. The union was asking for better wages, benefits, training, and working conditions for the 90 people who work for Waterbridge Ferries. The company operates 3 ferries on Arrow Lakes and 1 on Adams Lake. In a statement, BCGEU President Paul Finch says the deal meets the requirements for sustainable services laid out at the beginning of bargaining, but won't offer more details until members ratify the agreement. Waterbridge says the 4 impacted ferry routes are now back to their regular schedules. Some residents of Harrison Hot Springs claim a popular natural spring has been completely destroyed by boulders, allegedly at the hands of a luxury resort. The news has sparked local outcry, and the mayor says the village should have been consulted before any changes were made. A once cherished natural hot spring suddenly filled in with giant rocks and dirt.
People are really frustrated and upset.
Nicknamed by locals as Hobo Hot Springs, the spot is not far from the Harrison Hot Springs Resort. The natural hot spring sits along the shore of Harrison Lake and has been a favorite place for free scenic soaks.
People are really saddened that something that had free access to the public and, you know, outdoors in nature was destroyed.
I share this view, and I think the village should have greater influence or even control over these natural resources.
Harrison's mayor believes the resort, which controls part of the area, is likely responsible.
It's my initial understanding that the resort had someone place these boulders in the pools to sort of mitigate their risk and liability associated with public use of these hot springs pools.
He says the resort could have seen the pool as a liability concern because the water can get scalding hot. But some locals say the reasoning doesn't make sense.
This outlet has existed prior to the beautification done by locals, and there's never been any issues. And so for something like this to all of a sudden be an issue only because it became popular seems a little silly to me. Also, if they really wanted to, they could easily put a sign up.
He's also concerned about the environmental damage that may have been done to the pool, which housed small fish. The mayor says the hot spring is also significant to the Stahelis First Nation, and the village should have been consulted.
It's an important place, and the little bit I know is that it's culturally and historically significant to them as a place of healing.
Talon says he has a meeting with resort management to seek clarification. CBC News has contacted the Stahelis First Nation and the Harrison Hot Springs Resort for comment, but has not received a response. The torrential rain that drenched the Lower Mainland last weekend was the first test for a new community-led rainwater solution in Vancouver's Mount Pleasant neighborhood. As Isaac Panay reports, residents there say the St. George Rainway project has helped keep the street from flooding.
That's the sound of rain reaching the St. George Rainway last weekend. It's a channel of soil, boulders, and vegetation that runs along St. George Street between 5th and Broadway Avenues. Laurie Campbell has lived on the street for more than 15 years. She says the roadway used to flood every time it rained.
During the heavy rainstorms, you can see just massive amounts of water that were just kind of rushing down St. George all the way down to 5th.
She and her neighbors asked the city to install a natural channel to help manage the floods. With input from residents, the city designed a 4-block rainway designed to mimic a creek.
This project has had so much success because it's got such a great community behind it that's backing the project and really pushing it forward.
It's still under construction, but when torrential rainfall reached Vancouver this weekend, the road didn't flood.
We're seeing these kind of atmospheric river events and these big events come more frequently, but also at greater magnitude, of more strength. And so wider implementation of these projects would help a lot.
This project is actually a long time coming and was very much rooted in the community and what the neighbors there wanted to see in that space. With the increasing density that we're expecting in this area, there was a strong desire to see more green space and naturalized spaces.
He said the city is considering similar infrastructure to help manage rain. Isaac Panay, CBC News, Vancouver.
Metro Vancouver has agreed to sell 65 hectares of land on Bowen Island to a local conservation group. As the CBC's Sohrab Sandhu reports, the sale marks the end of a plan to create a campground on the island.
Cape Roger Curtis, a forested piece of land on the southwest tip of Bowen Island.
It's rocky, it's hilly, there are beautiful coastal bluffs.
Last year, Metro Vancouver bought 97 hectares of this land from a private developer with the hopes of building a 90-site campground and a regional park.
We were going to offer, a lot of residents in the region an opportunity to go to a Gulf island and also to be able to experience camping.
But that idea was met with resistance from many residents of Bowen Island.
What we know from Bowen Island residents is that they've always been looking to balance public use with strong protections for human impact in a way that preserves the sensitive ecosystems and habitats on that land.
Metro Vancouver has since pivoted from that plan, agreeing on Friday to sell 65 hectares to the Bowen Island Conservancy that bought the land for $30 million.
It's a win all around. That it's something that this region will benefit from. We've found short-lived plants that are very fragile and that are rare and threatened species. And so we are working in that area to discover what's there and preserve what we know is there.
She says the Conservancy has yet not decided what they will do with the land, but is happy to see the natural beauty and ecological value of the land preserved.
This new area that we've just acquired is going to take research and time to figure out what the ecology is, what the ecology requires to help it heal. There's been blasting in the area, there's been road building and so on.
Being able to protect this land for generations to come with the conservation covenants that are in place and the ability to have it locally managed by a well-respected nonprofit society is the value of that is just going to be priceless.
Metro Vancouver will use the money from the sale to create other parks and campsites in the region. It still owns 32 additional hectares of land on Bowen with no plans for the area. Sohrab Sandhu, CBC News, Vancouver.
A Vancouver Cantonese language school is once again offering classes after more than a decade of low enrollment. Pinky Wong reports.
These students are learning Cantonese inside a 100-year-old classroom at the National Historic Site of Mong Kiang School in Vancouver's Chinatown. The school opened in 1925 and later expanded to be the first Chinese language high school in Canada. It was closed in 2011 because of low enrollment, but instructors say increased interest has enabled the language school to reopen its classroom after more than 10 years.
We're incredibly excited to have the vibrancy, to hear the students walking up the stairs. We really want to preserve Cantonese language as pressures with immigration and changing dynamics and demographics in Vancouver have shifted in favor of Mandarin.
In Chinese culture, there are many different languages. Mandarin is widely spoken in China, while Cantonese is mostly spoken in the Guangdong province of China, Hong Kong, and Macau.
Like a younger brother is Didi in Mandarin and it's Silo in Cantonese.
Part of the program is taught in class, but facilitators say immersive hands-on experience are also important. The students are in the middle of the shopping excursion right now here in Chinatown. Their task here today is not to take off their grocery list, but to put their Cantonese skills to good use.
How much this is? How can you say?
Yeah. Sarah and Miles Wong are siblings. They want to reclaim their heritage, an integral part of their identities.
We went actually to French immersion school, so we know French, which is like, the second language of Canada, but we don't know our own family's language. Lap chung. Chinese-style sausage.
I have the moments of wishing I could speak or connect better is actually in a lot of food situations like this, grocery shopping.
For others in the class, it's a way to bridge relationships.
I'm in a dragon and lion dance group, and most of them speak at least a little bit of Cantonese.
My partner is Cantonese speaking and her whole family, and so to speak with them, and then we recently had a baby, and so I would like her to learn Cantonese.
The school hopes with the recent renewed interest, the program can continue to grow to preserve the language. Pinky Wong, CBC News, Vancouver.
Still ahead, Israel launches deadly airstrikes on military sites in Iran as world leaders urge restraint in the face of mounting upheaval in the Middle East. That's next. Stay with us. U.S. President Joe Biden says he hopes Israel's overnight strikes on Iran will mark the end to a period of escalation in the Middle East. European leaders are also calling for restraint and de-escalation amid fears of a wider-scale conflict in the region. And so far, Tehran is downplaying the incident. Sarah Coates has more from Tel Aviv.
The Israeli military has released these pictures of F-15 and F-16 fighter jets leaving the airbase on the way to carry out these Saturday morning strikes on Iran. The IDF says that dozens of Israeli aircraft, fighter jets, refuelers and spy planes participated in the strikes, saying that they returned safely after a complex operation. Now, this hours-long attack was for this unprecedented ballistic missile attack that Iran carried out on Israel on the 1st of October, which saw some 200 missiles shot into Israeli territory. Well, Hebrew media here is reporting, quoting senior Israeli officials as saying that Saturday morning's attack was designed to give both Israel and Iran an off-ramp to this escalating conflict. And what we did see here was Israel, of course, targeting these military sites rather than nuclear facilities or energy infrastructure. Now, Israel's somewhat measured response has certainly sent a clear message to Tehran, and that is that the Israelis can basically strike anywhere inside Iran, with Iran's foreign ministry condemning Israel's attack, saying that the Iranians are entitled to defend themselves. Well, the international community is calling for restraint and further de-escalation. But in terms of the situation on the ground here in Israel, there certainly is no change to the IDF's home front command guidance. This is for Israeli people on the ground. No change in that directive there, with the IDF also warning Iran that Israel will be obligated to respond if it opens a new round of escalation. Sarah Coates for CBC News, Tel Aviv.
This was the sunrise this morning from Tofino at the Wickaninnish Inn. I'll have your full forecast coming up.
Hey, I'm Rohith Joseph. Vibin' is the new show all about discovering great new songs and fresh artists from across BC and beyond. Stream Vibin' on CBC Listen.
All right, it is time now to take a peek at our full forecast. Let's begin with temperatures around the province tonight. -6 in Dease Lake, a bit of snow in Fort St. John with a -3. A lot of rain around the province. Golden, 3 degrees overnight. And on the island, 9 degrees in both Tofino and Victoria. Again, with those wetter conditions. It's going to dry right up for Dease Lake with a -2 tomorrow and 3 in Fort St. John, 8 in Prince George with a mix of showers and snow flurries. Nice and sunny and cloudy in Williams Lake with a high of 11 for tomorrow. And on the island, Tofino, you are going to see a bit more of that thunderstorm risk with a high of 12, similar temperatures in Victoria. And Metro Vancouver's 5-day forecast, a rainy week ahead with Sunday with a high of 12, similar conditions on Monday with a high of 11 and possibly a bit more overcast by Tuesday. For the last decade, Trina Kibbleway has been decorating her house for Halloween while raising money for a good cause. But this year, for the 10th anniversary, she's gone all out. Our Jennifer Norwell stopped by for a spooky tour.
Emperor of Souls. He's huge, very impressive, and he's just amazing. My name is Trina Kibbleway. I'm here in our Bentley's Haunted Yard. It is our 10th year of putting on an amazing haunted yard full of decor, creepy animatronics, and all kinds of Halloween fun. Tell me what we got here. The biohazard lab. Not sure if the doctor's gonna make it out. Both my hubby and I are huge Halloween geeks. We started off with just a small little thing for friends and family, and it has grown every single year since. We have our mad scientist who's been hard at work in his laboratory. It takes us around a month and a half to set it all up from start to being ready to open. So yeah, it's a lot of work. We do this for both the local food bank and the SPCA. It's by donation at our gate. You don't have to bring a donation, but we love it if you do. It's our way of giving back to the community so that everybody can come and have some fun from the 28th till Halloween night. We just really hope that everybody can come out and have a happy, safe Halloween this year.
I love the spooky season. That is your late news for Saturday, October 26th. Thank you so much for joining us. To keep up to date with all the latest news, you can always head to our website at cbc.ca/BC. We'll see you tomorrow.